What would you do if your mother told you that your voice was poisoning your family? I was 12 when my mother woke me up at 3 in the morning with tears streaming down her face. She sat on the edge of my bed and said she'd had a vision from God. In the vision, my voice was causing terrible things to happen to our family. Every word I spoke was like poison spreading through our house, making everyone sick and bringing danger closer. She said if I loved her and wanted to keep everyone safe, I needed to stop speaking immediately. I thought she was joking at first because my mom and I were incredibly close. We'd always been best friends. She was the kind of mother who listened to everything I said and made me feel like my thoughts mattered. But she was sobbing and shaking and begging me to trust her. Please, baby. I know this sounds crazy, but I saw it so clearly. Your voice is going to hurt us. You have to stop. I loved my mother more than anything in the world, so I said okay. Those were the last words I spoke for 3 years. The first few days were hard, but I did it because I trusted her. My mother called my school and told them I developed a medical condition affecting my vocal cords. She took me to a single doctor's appointment where she did all the talking and I nodded along. At school, I had to pretend to all my friends that I'd woken up one day and couldn't talk. They felt sorry for me at first, but after a few months, they stopped trying to include me. I became invisible. The lie made everything worse because I was carrying this massive secret. My mother seemed relieved and grateful that I kept going, but then she started testing me. She'd ask me direct questions and wait to see if I'd slip up. She'd create situations where staying silent felt impossible, like when my younger sister got hurt and was crying for me. When I stayed silent through that, my mother praised me for being strong and protecting the family. My father watched all of this and said nothing. When I'd look at him pleading for help, he'd just give me this sad smile and say, "Your mother's been under a lot of stress. Just do what she asks." My mother started keeping a journal of every time someone in our family got sick or hurt, showing it to me as proof my silence was working. See? Ever since you stopped talking, your sister hasn't had a single asthma attack. I became obsessed with being perfectly silent because I genuinely believed I was protecting everyone I loved. I stopped laughing because I was afraid the sound would count. I learned to cry without making noise. My mother's mental state kept getting worse. She started seeing signs everywhere. If I accidentally cleared my throat, she'd find something bad that happened that day and blame it on me. She started locking me in my room for full days after any sound. My father would bring me meals and whisper, "I'm sorry, she just needs time." He never once told her to stop. Then my mother started saying she was having more visions about my sisters. She told my younger sister she was having dreams about her voice too. My sister was only 8 and started crying and asked me with her eyes if this was real. I wanted to scream that something was wrong with mom, but I stayed silent because I was terrified. That's when I realized my father was encouraging her delusions. I heard him late one night telling her, "You're right to be worried. Maybe they all need to learn silence." Everything came to a head when my mother locked my 8-year-old sister in the basement for laughing too loud at dinner. I could hear her screaming and begging to be let out. My mother was at the basement door saying, "This is for your own good." I broke 3 years of silence and screamed, "Let her out right now." My mother collapsed sobbing and my father came running, but instead of being angry at me, he looked satisfied. That's when I understood. My father sat me down and explained very calmly that in our family, women needed to learn their place. My mother thought her visions were a gift from God showing her the right way to raise daughters, but really he'd been the one suggesting things to her, planting ideas in her head while she was vulnerable and mentally unstable, using her illness as a weapon to control all of us. My mother wasn't the villain. She was sick and he'd been making her worse on purpose. He told me that now that I'd broken my silence, I'd have to start over, and so would my sister, and eventually my youngest sister. He wanted a house full of silent children and he'd found the perfect way to get it. I went to school the next day and told my counselor everything. I spoke out loud for the first time in front of anyone outside my family, and my voice was shaking so badly she could barely understand me, but I told her the truth. We were removed from the home within 48 hours. My mother was hospitalized and diagnosed with severe psychosis. She's been in treatment for 6 years now and has no memory of most of what happened. My father was investigated but never charged because he claimed he was just supporting his wife through her illness. My younger sisters and I live with our aunt now. My youngest sister talks constantly and loves the sound of her own voice. My middle sister barely speaks at all because 3 years of silence damaged something in her that therapy hasn't fixed. I'm 19 now, and sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night convinced that if I make a sound, something terrible will happen.